Alright guys, how's it going, and welcome to this video. So today it's very important, I think, that you stick around, because in my opinion this is one of the most important things that I ever learned in my bodybuilding journey, where I've made the most gains. So this is about lateral raises that I will do this video because I really love this exercise and you can really understand how this training technique is gonna work. And this is also for people that are stuck at home at the moment with the lockdown restrictions. But you know, as you will see, I basically learned this technique when I didn't have much equipment, so this is why it's really relatable for people who are at home. But then I realized that I could apply it to my gym routine. So when I had access to a gym, I would start applying this kind of routine. So here for my shoulders, for example, my side delts, but then I applied it to actually everything in the end, and I've never made that much improvement. So we will go back to a few topics that I often talk about, but here in practice, you really understand how it works. Stay in if you want to grow your shoulders, your side delts specifically. So I wanted to start this video by saying, how do you get bigger shoulders in general? This is good to remind. To get broader, bigger shoulders, you just have to simply do progressive overload, just like any other muscles. So you have to get stronger on the movements you practice, and not only just do strength, but enough hypertrophy as well, training enough volume. So it doesn't specifically mean more reps, but it also means more sets, just more volume. So as an example, if you go from 4 times 10 kg on lateral raises to 4 times 10 at 14 kg lateral raises, then you will have put on muscle. If you were going from 10 kg to 14 kg while implementing enough hypertrophy training, then this is how you get bigger shoulders. You're simply doing for the same difficulty 4 times 10 at 14 kg than you were doing for 4 times 10 at 10 kg. So you've put on muscle. That's simply how it works. So this is how you build muscle on your shoulders and any other muscle. Now for shoulders, I would recommend focusing on your side delts and your rear delts as well, and a little bit of course on your front delts, even though because you're doing so much pressing movements already in your routine, you have to be careful with this one if you're a bit sensible there. So now for those who are at home, and we're gonna anyway start with this example because I have something that you can relate to in my example. So if you're at home, the difference between the gym is that you don't have enough equipment, and if you don't have enough equipment, usually it means you don't have any weights and you don't have anything to work out with. And even if you do so, sometimes it's just not heavy enough, so it starts getting a bit complicated, to scale up, etc. So at home, what you're gonna have to do is simply focus on isolation movements, because isolation movements basically here will have to be at home your new compounds movement. And why do I say that? Because basically this is the perfect example here with lateral raises, because lateral raises, although when you get to an advanced level, for example, a pair of dumbbells with 10 kg each might not be heavy enough, but if you're intermediate or beginner, 10 kg each side is usually really enough. And so if you have a pair of dumbbells, you can really still improve at home. So at home, try to find exercises. Compound movement won't work because you usually have to go way too heavy. Even if you're a beginner, deadlift, a lot of people can deadlift 100 kg from the start when they're beginners. And so at home, try to look for exercises like lateral raises for shoulders, where you don't have to go that heavy and you can still improve. My first advice, obviously, is to get some pair of dumbbells. So if you're at home, on Amazon, it's not very expensive to get yourself some dumbbells. You should do this, or just go to the local shop if it's still open during a lockdown period, and get yourself these dumbbells. It will help you tremendously. If you don't have any dumbbells, we can also see that you can use luggages. So for example, you could put some books in a luggage, a small luggage or a bag, and this will be enough to reach, for example, 5, 10, 12 kg. And then you can do some unilateral work, like I talked in another video. For example, if you don't have 2 bags that are perfectly matching 10 kg because it's too complicated at home, etc. Well, if you only have one, then you can do unilateral work. So for unilateral raises, you do one side and then the other. That's also a way to work out at home and to try to go pretty heavy, even though you don't have a lot of equipment. So when I come to a little experience here of myself when I was in boarding school, so that was a time basically when you're at boarding school, you don't have equipment really. So I would bring my dumbbells basically to the room when I was sleeping there from Monday to Friday, and I couldn't do, for example, for my shoulders, because I had 2 days where I was doing shoulders one day on like Wednesday, and on the Tuesday I was doing biceps, for example. So I couldn't do any shoulder presses because my dumbbells didn't carry enough weight, and that would be pretty pointless. But one thing that I could do is obviously lateral raises, and I would do basically 20 sets of lateral raises. So I had already been training for 2 years there. But if you're a beginner, you might not want to do as much as this, but as you can see here, I did a lot of sets of this one exercise. I really learned a lot from doing this many sets on one exercise, and I really applied it to the rest of my gym sessions in the future. Basically, this gave me a lot of progression. The fact that I could do this many sets on one exercise gave me a lot of progression. I could improve very fast on the exercise, and as I was improving very fast on the exercise, as a result, I was also growing my shoulders much faster than I ever did before. So for example, if I was in the gym, I would maybe do 3 or 4 exercises of shoulders. So I would do maybe overhead press, then I would do lateral raises, and then I would maybe do rear shoulders, raises for the rear shoulders. And so here I would have, in total maybe 15 sets or 20 sets. And so what I did here is replacing my overall casual volume of a shoulder session to just one exercise. When I was in my room, I was like, well, how can I be as efficient and work as hard as I usually am in the gym, but just with a pair of dumbbell and one exercise? So that's when it came up that I did, these many sets of lateral raises. And as I said, to my surprise, I improved very fast on the exercise, and I think this is why I also got very much better results on my shoulders, because I improved that fast. So on the progressive overload theory and practice, then I improved a lot also on my size. I think that's key here. Specialization, like I usually say in my videos, it's not exactly quality over quantity, but it's quality in a way that you really just decide to do the exercise which matter the most and are the most efficient, and instead of doing too many exercises, so you reduce to this amount of the exercise would matter, and then you do more sets of those. So of course, on the long run, you don't just want to do lateral raises for your shoulders, because you might want to do your rear delts, you might want to do also a little bit of front delts, with overhead press, etc. But for the time being, this was really, well, first I learned that I should, specialize a bit more, and second, I actually made great improvement. And I think the medial delts are the more important part of the shoulders as well. I also did this for my biceps, like I said, and the improvement was just simply great. I got really much better at curling. So I was, with my 2 dumbbells there, and I was doing maybe 20 sets of curls and hammer curls as well. And it's really, I don't know, should have my results. Because during the weekend I was going back to a local gym, and I could see that all my lifts basically were also improving as a result of only these 2 sessions where I was doing 20 sets for lateral raises and 20 sets for curls. And as a result, I also started doing this on my gym sessions when I was going to the local gym on the weekends. I was specializing more basically on most of the sessions. I would reduce the amount of exercise and increase the amount of sets instead. So let me give you an example here with the lateral raises in practice. If you're at home, you've got a pair of dumbbell and you really want to get these side delts, or really get some improvement there. Let's take it from the fact that you can do 4 times 10 at 10 kg lateral raises, where, well, what I used to do is basically, like I said, 20 sets. So if you're a beginner, you could do maybe 10 sets of lateral raises, which is quite a lot, and if you're intermediate, maybe 12 to 15 sets. And so taking my example, as I was doing 20 sets, for example, the 5 first sets would be 10 reps, 9 reps, 9 reps, 8 reps, 8 reps. And then what I would do is basically reduce the weight. So like, for example, if my first 5 sets were at 10 kg, I would lower down after to 8 kg. And with 8 kg, because it's a bit lower weight, I would be able to get the same reps that I did before. So I would go again, with something like 10, 9, 9, 8, 8. So I would be always in the same difficulty basically. Instead of saying, well, I'm gonna go to 5 or 6 reps on lateral raises, which might not be the best thing to do, I would just lower a bit the amount of weight, and instead try to match the same repetitions as I did on the last 5 sets, for example, here. And when with the 8 kg it got to complicated to maintain at least 8 reps, I would then go maybe to 6 kg, and then with the 6 kg I would again do the 10, 9, 9, 8 around those rep ranges. So with this training technique of doing a lot of sets in one exercise to improve very quickly, and then because you improve very quickly, you build a muscle much quicker. Something very important to do though is to really write down everything. For example, like I said, if you do 10 reps, 9 reps, 9 reps, 8 reps, 7 reps, you have to write it down, because if you exactly know what you did last time, you know what you have to do now to beat it. And it's very important, because here it's not as easy to remember basically what you've done. When you do 15 sets of one exercise, for example, it's gonna be hard to remember exactly how much you did, etc., than if you're splitting basically your sets with more exercises, because I don't know, it's just mentally easier to remember that you did 3 sets of shoulder presses of that many reps, and then 3 sets of lateral raises of that many reps to rather than 10 sets of lateral raises. So you have to write down everything. It's very important, and once you have written everything, the next time you do your session, all right, what do I need to do better now, and how do I beat this? I also want to say, don't be scared of getting stronger on lateral raises. Some people, they just want to feel the burn, and the burn, I've made another video about the pump and how you shouldn't rely on the pump to build muscle. What you should rely on is progression. As long as the weights are going up, and that you're doing enough hypertrophy training on these weights that are going up, then you're fine. But you shouldn't stay on the same weight all the time and just wait until you feel that burn and stop the session, basically. So basically as well, what feels heavy to you, one day will be light. If for example you're on the bench press and you're lifting 8 times 50 kg today, well, in maybe 3 years time you'll be lifting 100 kg for 8 reps, and when you go back to the 50 kg you'll be able to do 40 reps and it'll be super easy. The 100 kg at 8 reps that you're doing today feel basically as hard as what the 8 times 50 kg and the bench press used to feel. It's the same difficulty, but now you're just so much better that the 50 kg really don't feel heavy at all anymore. And it's the same principle with lateral raises. Today, if I tell you, do lateral raises with 15 kg on each hand, that might, I don't know, sound super heavy. But if you keep improving, one day you'll be able to do higher reps with this 15 kg on each hand with a good form. So don't limit yourself, to I should stick to the same weight, just feel the burn. No, try to improve and try to make what's hard today easy one day. So what's really to understand in this video? Well, when you start focusing more on one exercise and giving more sets to this exercise, well, you improve faster on this exercise, and because you improve faster and you're not, shifting your attention to too many exercises, then you have results faster, you build muscle faster. Second of all, you should then do this technique at home, because at home you won't have many exercises that you can do simply because you don't have the equipment. So try to find 1 or 2 exercises that are very good, like lateral raises, where you can still go heavy even though you're at home, and do a lot of sets of this exercise. Third thing, if you don't have dumbbells to do your lateral raises, try to find a luggage, try to put some weights in there and do the same method of doing a lot of sets. And if you don't have 2 bags with weight the same, then try to do unilateral work. I can promise you that if you start doing much more sets with your lateral raises, you will really see an improvement in your shoulders. And then when you go back to the gym, for example, you could actually give more sets to this exercise or any exercises that you think really matters in your training session. It doesn't have to be for shoulders, it can be for something else. So for example, you could do 2 compound movements for the first 2 exercises for a muscle in a given session, and then your third exercise could be an isolation movement, and you actually decide to take maybe 1 or 2 sets from the compound movements and give them to your isolation movement. So for example, instead of doing 4 sets of overhead press, 4 sets of shoulder presses and 4 sets of lateral raises, you decide to give 3 sets to overhead press, 3 sets to shoulder presses, and instead give 6 sets to lateral raises. So I hope you understood how that works, and I hope you're gonna actually make great gains from this technique. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below and I will make sure to answer them.